Good morning and welcome to Daf Yomi Maseches Moed Katan Daf Chav Zayin number 27. We have a great shir for you today. Unbelievable shir. No, I mean there's always kedushim in my shiurim. If you pay close attention, if you read the art scroll, you'll see that a lot of things I explain not like the art scroll for good reason because the art scroll is a little, I don't know what the right word is, uh, anachronistic. Is that the word? Uh, it's not up to date. It's not uh, in sync with today's times, with items that we have today. So you'll see that today we talked about types of beds. Kfiyas hamita, you're supposed to overturn your bed or lower your bed. We'll see. If you're an avel, what exactly does that mean? We're going to start here on the bottom of Chavav and Beis. From the two dots on the bottom, 4 lines from the bottom. Tana Rabban Holich Lebeis Avel Im Hayalibo Gaspo Yivru Al Mitos Kfuyos. When you go to the base of Avel, right, you're supposed to serve him a Sudas Havaro, right? The first meal that he eats after the burial has to be served from other people's food. They have to bring it to him. So, and they're supposed to sit and eat it with him. So he has to sit on an overturned bed. Overturned. I don't think it means an overturned bed. I think really means kafui. Kafui means to press down on something, force something to press it down, meaning to put the mattress on the floor. That's what I think it means. He sits on a mattress lower on the floor. Gospel, he's his good friend, so he also should sit. The friend should also sit on a mattress on the floor. So they're people that are just acquaintances with him, not his best friend. They sit on beds which are normal, which are upright, which are on a bed frame. Rava Israel Milsra. Rava lost a relative. Alagabe Abu Marsa, the student Abu Marsa who Abu Yomi came to visit him. Rava Zakif Minyomi. Rava Zakif Alagabe Abu Marsa who Abu Yomi. Rava Zakif. Rava picked up the bed, the mattress from the floor so that Abu Marsa should sit on it, on the bed frame. Abu Marsa coffee. Abu Marsa did the opposite. He took it down. Amar Kama Leispe Daita Luhusam Rabban, and Rava was upset. He said, "This is not my best friend." Abu Marsa was an acquaintance of his. You don't deserve to be sitting on the same level as me. You should sit on a higher level. The Brisa says a person is traveling from place to place, is on the road, and he hears about one of his Zayin Krovim that passed away. He's obviously in the middle of business dealings. Now, we're not talking about physical malacha. Physical malacha you're not allowed to do, but he's doing business transactions. He went to Singapore. He went to Dubai to close the deal. The business merger, companies merge. If it's possible for him to withstand the temptation and to minimize his business transaction. He can't. If it's so important to him, he can lose a lot of money. So then he can let his associates deals with it in an indirect way, not a direct way. When do you start overturning the beds, taking the mattress off the bed frame and putting it on the floor? Once you leave the doorway of your house to go bury the dead person, that's what Rebbe Lezer holds. Rebbe Shul Omer, when the top of the coffin is placed on the dead person, he's lowered into the ground. When the burial is complete, that's when the Avela starts. Once happened, the elder died. Once the mourners left from their house, he said, the Rezer said to them, take your matches off the bed frame. Once the burial was completed, he said, now is the time to lower your beds. They told them, we already listened to Rabbi Lezer, the elder one. Maybe Rabbi Lezer ben Horkins was older than Yeshua, and we did it already. Doesn't say what the halacha is like. We don't know what the halacha is like. I think we passed on Yeshua. Erev Shabbos. On Friday, right? You're supposed to, on Shabbos, you can't show Avelos. You have to pick up the beds. So when do you pick it up? When do you put it back on the bed frame? From time mincha, Katan, and mincha gedola, not clear. Amar Rabba Rav Huna, even though you picked it up and put it on the bed frame, you're not allowed to sit on the bed until Shabbos starts. The Motzei Shabbos, he only has to sit at the beginning of Sunday, Sunday's last day of Avelos, and Miksa Yom Kikulo, can get up right away. But for Motzei Shabbos, when he's going to sleep, he has to overturn the bed. He has to take off the mattress and put it on the floor. Yom Echad Chozer V'Kofa. He has to put it back on the floor. Talking about Nakofa Mitaso, Lo Mitaso Bavado Kofa. When he takes off the mattresses in his house, not just his own bed. I'll call Mitos Shir So all the beds in his house he has to do Kofa. I feel Yeshua Esher Mitos Basar Makomos. He has 10 beds in 10 different places, meaning in 10 different houses. Kofa is cool on if they all belong to him. He has to take them all off the bed. I feel Chamisha Achan Mesa Echad. They're 5 brothers. The 5 brothers are sitting Shiva in one house. Cool on Kofa, and all of them have to take their own beds in their own houses and overturn them. So that's what comes out. All the beds in the house of the Shiva are to be overturned, and all the personal beds of you, even if they're different houses, have to be overturned. If the bed was just for putting things on it for storage, you don't have to take off the mattress. A dargish, we'll see what this means. You don't have to lower it down. Al Zokfo, you can keep it or remain direct. Dargish matir es karvita v'nofa me'elav. You untie its strings or you let the air out. We'll see v'nofa me'elav, and it falls down by itself. My dargish. What is a dargish that Shmuel is talking about? Amar Ula Arsa the God. The Ula says the pshat in dargish is Arsa the God. It's a bed that used for good fortune. I would say it's a bed in. For good fortune, it's a bed that you use for more comfortable, a different type of sleeping. People like to sleep on different things. Sometimes people like to sleep on a bed. Sometimes people enjoy sleeping on a leather couch. Sometimes people enjoy sleeping on an air mattress. Right? Airbnb, that's how it started. Airbnb, air bed and breakfast. The Airbnb came from air mattresses. People used to let other people into their house and give them an air mattress to sleep. If you didn't know that, Airbnb is from air mattress. So those are the 3 mattresses we're going to talk about: a regular mattress, a leather couch people like to sleep on, an Airbnb. You like air mattress people like to sleep on. Air to the God that for good fortune, to make it feel good. I don't think it means Avodah. It means to feel good. Amalei Rabba El Me'ata Gabi Melech. We know by a Melech the Snan Kol Am Subamal Aretz. When he's in Avel, the king, everyone sits on the ground. Who Mesa, because of his lofty status, he sits on a dargish. Mika Midi Data Hidno Lo Svine. Until now, we never said a king on a dargish. And now we do. Masculine Ravashi. Rashi says, "My kusha, what's the problem? Like eating and drinking. When a person's in Avel, we never fed him. He has to eat his own food. And now when he's in Avel, we raise his status and he gets fed by other people. If you have a question, what this dargish is, this is a question. This not dargish and zokfo. Dargish, we learned before, you don't overturn it, you don't put it down, you keep it erect. The ars the gada, if it's an air mattress, why don't you have to let it the air out? Right, it's a type of bed, so you should let the air out. The air, or it's an air mattress over here. My kusha, what's the question? Can it be similar to a bed that's used to store things on? You don't have to lower the mattress to the floor. The kasha. Following question. He unties the strings, it falls by itself. It just has a hole, an air hole to let it blow in the air. It doesn't have strings, doesn't have things just attached to it. So that was a good disproof of Ula. Gemara says, "Kiyasa Ravin." When Ravin came, Amar Leia Humer Rabbana Rav Tachlifa Bar Marava Shmei. Certain rabbi Rav Tachlifa Bar Marava said, "To have a shliach b'shuka digadai." He was a leather maker's market. He was common for him to be there. My dargish erstet zala. It means I'm interpreting this to be a leather couch. And that's what it's talking about. Leather couch. You have to take the cushions off and sit on the cushion on the floor. Manami Amar Rav Yirmiyah dargish sirugo mitocho. The mita, a bed, a mattress, is placed on top of the bed frame. The pillows of a leather couch are placed inside the couch. It's inside the couch. The couch has a back also. Amar Rav Yaakov Baracha, Amar Rav Yishum and Levi Allah Kushim Liel. The halacha follows Reb Shimon Gamliel that it's Matria Karvita if he unties it, meaning he takes sometimes the cushions of the couch are tied to the couch. You are zippered to a couch. You take the zippers off, you put it on the floor. Amar Itmar Nami, Amar Reb Yaakov Baracham, Reb Yasi Mita Shanaklita Yotzin Zokva V'dai. Let's say you have a canopy bed. You have a canopy bed, so you take off the canopy. That's basically, you have poles, you just take off the canopy on the top. Zokva V'dai, you can leave it erect. You could actually sleep on the mattress. Tan Rabbanan, because that's considered to be lowering your status. You usually had a covering, now you don't. Tan Rabbanan, Yashan Agabi Kisa, Agabi Udaini, Gadola, Agabi Karkal, Yasi Lechovas. Let's see what I'm really from. You don't want to take your mattress and put it on the floor. You want to sleep on a chair, even a reclining chair, Agabi Udaini Gadola, or you sleep on some type of machinery, Agabi Karka, or you want to be really from sleep on the floor. Yotzi Lechovas, you're not Yotzi the Chiyav of Piyas Hamita. You're supposed to be Avel, but like we're going to see on Amad Bey, is not Yoser Midai, not too much. I'm Rabbi Yochanan, Shalokiyim Piyas Hamita. It wasn't Mekayim, the mitzvah of Piyas Hamita. Tanur Rabban Mechabdin or Bitzin based on Avel. You're allowed to sweep, you're allowed to do sponja, you're allowed to squeegee, wash the floors based on Avel. Madich and Karas, Kos, Zilchos, Vikitonios, you're allowed to wash plates and dishes, bowls and jars based on Avel. Ve'ein Mavinas and Mugmar, some you can't bring incense and fine spices based on Avel. Should be a little bit of less indulgence in the hanos of this world. Should feel more of the sorrow. So the Gemara says that Aini is this true. You can't make a bracha when you smell incense or fine spice in the base of Avel. You don't make a bracha in the base of Avel. It's supposed to be said, I saw you my sinan. But you could use them there and not make a bracha. Lokash. How base of Avel? How base of Menachmen in the base of Avel, where the Avel is sitting, then you shouldn't bring spices or incense. But the place where the comforters are sitting, the people that come to comfort him to pay a shiva call, those people can't have incense and spice in front of them, but should make a bracha. The Mishnah says that in Molichan the base of Avel b'tavla below Bauskatla, right? When we're talking about the Sudas Havara, he's supposed to bring him food for his first meal, the Avel. You don't bring it on a fancy tray, below Bauskatla, and you don't bring it. What does the article say? I'm using the article, unbelievable. Not in a large bowl. You shouldn't believe in a large bowl. Below Bekanun, and not in a large basket. Not fancy kalim. You shouldn't use fancy kalim. Ela b'salim. Small baskets. If it's called a moed, you don't say birchas avelim. Birchas avelim is when the sudas havara, you make the brachas, and birchas hamazon after. There's certain brachas you add it. You don't say those added brachas if you have the sudas havara and chol moed. Omdim b'shura and chol moed, you would stand in a line after he comes back from the burial to comfort him. Menachmen, poches, a rabbim. And then you do Tanchumei Avilim then, and then you console him then, and Poch Rabbim, and then they don't have to come back and comfort him the rest of Chol Moed. You don't put on Chol Moed his beard, his bed, his coffin in the street, Shalala Hargilas a Hesped, in order there shouldn't be so much. Chol Moed is a time of joy. You're not supposed to engage in eulogies. Never you should leave a woman's body in the street because it's disgraceful to a woman. A woman is supposed to not be in the public eye. You can look at a woman, but not. You can look at a woman. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to talk about that, whether you're allowed to look at a woman or not look at a woman, glance at a woman or not, but you shouldn't put them in the center where everyone look at it. It's not kavod. It's not fitting for a woman. Originally, the Sudas Havara, they used to, for the rich people, they used to bring them fancy baskets of fancy kalim of gold and silver, aniyim, with wicker baskets. Shalarav klufa. Vayu aniyim is baishim. Aniyim were embarrassed that they showed their poverty. They all used to bring the wicker baskets, klufa, in order not to embarrass aniyim. They used to use crystal to serve the rich people. And they used to use inferior glass, kalim, to serve drinks, the sudas havara, to the poor people. Anim is baishim. The poor people were embarrassed. Everyone used this cheaper glass in order to not embarrass the aniyim. When rich people died, they would keep his face open because it looked good, and people would be sympathized to eulogize him. The face that are covered, we'll see, because their face was black, because a lot of times they were so poor, their face changed colors because they hadn't eaten in a long time. The poor people were embarrassed. And ended up they would cover everybody's face when they did the eulogium in order to embarrass Aniyim. Originally used to take out the Ashirim. We said a dargish is a leather couch on a fancy couch. Aniyim beklicha, and Aniyim on top of klazayim and a base beklicha, a wooden slat, a wooden board. Aniyim is baishes what the Israel Aniyim were embarrassed. They had made a takana that even everyone they should take out on a wooden board. Because when a dead person had stomach problems, they would smell even more. So they used to put incense underneath his body so it should smell better. The people that were alive that have stomach problems, they would see this, they'd be embarrassed because they'll know when they meet their demise, when they're dead, the people are going to put incense, they'll know they had stomach problems. Therefore, they made a takana that they should always put incense under all dead people, whether they had stomach problems or not. Originally, when women who were nidos died, they would be tovel all the kelim they touched recently. The living nidos are embarrassed because they'd see that nidos were treated differently, and they'd feel their status of nida is very emotional for a woman when she's a menstruant. Therefore, they used to tovel all the kalim, even if the woman who died wasn't a nidam. Again, the same thing. A woman is a zava, she sees blood at a different time in her cycle. Again, the women who are zav and chayim is bayish because they feel inferior. They're also asurim to their husbands at that time. The takana was that all women who die, they should tovel all the kalim they touched recently in order not to embarrass anyone. So originally, the death of a relative was harder. Burying the dead person was harder for them than the actual death because they had to spend money on fancy clothes because that was the norm. The norm was to bury them in fancy clothes. I mean, now the norm is to make fancy weddings, and people don't want to marry off their kids. No, listen, there was peer pressure, and the rich people use fancy clothes. The poor people didn't want to spend fancy money on fancy clothing, to silk clothing, to bury the dead person. It came to the point the relatives would, after he died, would leave the dead person and let the tzibur take care of his burial. Gamliel himself, who was a role model for everyone, he allowed himself to be buried in linen clothing, cheaper linen clothing. And everyone took the minhag afterwards to be buried in linen clothing. And now we can even bury people in canvas, which is much cheaper. Even only costs a zuz, $1. You don't leave the dead person's beer on the street during Chol Moed. In Moed within Talmud Chacham. By Talmud Chacham, there's no hilchas Chol Moed. You could put him in the street to have excessive eulogies. So certainly, if the Talmud Chacham dies in Chanukah and Purim, you leave him in the street to have proper eulogies. How do you immediately b'fanav? That's only talking about where you can eulogize him when he's there. Aval shalom b'fanav. If the dead person is not there, he's some other city, you can't eulogize him on Chol Moed. Any is true. Harav Kahana Sapta Razvid ben Harda b'Pum Nahara. He eulogized Razvid, who was from the Harda in Pum Nahara, in a different place where he wasn't. Amar Rav Papi Yom Shmua Havaku Fanav Dami. It was the day that he heard that he died, so it's like he was there. Amar Ula Hesped Alev. Hesped is, when it says Hesped in the Torah or in the Vim Ksuvim, it's talking about hitting your chest like we do. Slach Lanu. Hesped Chsiv Al Shadayim Softim Ti Softim Al Shadayim. Shadayim is the breast. Breasts are here. Softim. That's what sofim means. You hit your heart. Tipuach biyad. Tipuach is clapping her hands when a dead person dies. Kilus beregel. Kilus is stomping her feet. All of these expressions of mourning. Someone who stomps his feet, he shouldn't do it with sandals. Sandals a fancy shoe, a brogue. Brogues are another name for wingtips. Eleva minal, you should do it loafers. Neasakana, because it's dangerous. The brogues are, they have uh, the heel of the brogues is sharper. It's gonna hurt your foot. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Avel Kevan Shanina Rosh Hashoim and Achman Shayin Leishav Etzlo. If an Avel gets to the point where he feels he doesn't need any more comforters, he just shakes his head. So it's usher to comfort him anymore. He doesn't need comfort anymore. There's no more shiva calls for him. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Hakol Chayv Lam B'nei Nasi. Everyone has to stand in front of a Nasi. A president comes in, you stand up for him. Chutz Me'eva V'chola. Av V'chola don't have to stand up for him. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Hakol Amrim Lehem Shvu Chutz Me'eva V'chola. When a Nasi, you stand up for a Nasi, people have to say, okay, now you can sit down when you stood up for the Nasi. But if an Avel or Chola who don't have to stand up for Nasi decided to stand up on their own, they can sit down whenever they want because really they don't have to stand up in the first place. This is the halacha. You're not supposed to eat an avel the first day of his morning. He's not supposed to eat bread from his own money. Hashem said to Yechezkel, who was in mourning over the Beis Hamikdash, you shouldn't eat bread of other people. We learn from him that's only by Yechezkel. Other Avelim don't eat their own bread. Rabbi Yosef Machalvis with the Saila Dadi, Rabbi and Yosef, whatever they are mourners, they would each provide for the other one their Sudas Havarav. Amarav Yehuda Marav Meis Beir Kol Bnei Yer Asur Mesias Malacha. If someone died in the city, everyone can't do malacha. No one's allowed to do malacha until he's buried. Rav Nuna Ikla the Jerumasa. In order they should bury him, they should take it upon themselves to bury him. They came to a city called Jerumasa. Shama Kol Shibura the Shechva. He heard they were loud sirens going around in the city, loud cars screaming out that someone died. They saw people doing physical work. They should be in nidoy. When you have a dead person in your city, they said we have the Chevra Kadisha. The Chevra Kadisha was taking care of the dead person. If that's so, he mattered their nidoy. Someone who mourns excessively, he's going to end up having to cry on another dead person. There was a certain lady in the neighborhood of Huna, Havalu Shiva Bani. She had 7 sons. One of them died young. Havas Kabachya B'Yasersa. She was crying excessively aloud. Shalachar of Huna sent her, Lo Ta'abdi don't be like this Ashkabe. She didn't listen to him. Shalachalaya, Itzaisa Muta. If you listen, last chance, you listen good. Lo Sabi Zavat Al Idach. You're going to end up preparing provisions, burial clothing for another one, for another son. Another son died. Misu Kulo. At the end, all of her sons died. Lasof Amarla Temush Zavatal and Avshech. You're going to end up preparing provisions for yourself. Misa, she didn't listen and she died herself. Al Tivchul Ames, Altanodulo, Al Tivchul Ames. The pasuk that says we learn this from Widash Al Tivchul Ames, Altanodulo, Al Tivchul Ames. What does that mean? Yosim Midai, it means crying excessively for a dead person. Altanodulo, Yosam Kashir. You shouldn't shake your head. A person shakes their head and they're in disbelief what happened more than the sheer. Do it a couple of times and that's it. Aketza Shloshi Yamim Lebechi. The proper way to mourn someone, the first 3 days after he dies, should be crying. Shiva lehespe, 7 days after he dies, should eulogize him. 30 days, you don't press your clothes, you don't get a haircut. That Hashem says, you shouldn't be more merciful than me. If I say after 30 days the Avelis is over, you should copy that also. What is that pasuk mean? You should cry a lot. That's talking about someone who dies without any sons, children. Rishon ben Levi never came to comfort or mourn, never paid a shiva call. El laman de azil below bani, except to somebody who died without children. They'll say bachol laholech yalash. Cry excessively for the one who left, because he won't have any remembrance. And he'll never see the land of his birth, because his progeny never existed. Rav Huna Amar. He has a different shot in this pasuk, not related to Avera. The Liyashuv Moed, who won't return, he did an Avera and he repeated it a second time. Once a person does an Avera and then repeats it a second time, it becomes mutter for him. That's what the pasuk means. He won't return anymore, he won't repent anymore. The Gemara says, Huchulo, Sagadait, that doesn't become mutter, it becomes mutter after you repeat an Avera. Ela Ema Naslo Keheter, it becomes in his eyes like it's mutter, I'll never do tshuva. Amar Levi, Avel Shlosh Shem Rishonim, Yeretz Atzmo, Kil Cherev, Menachaslo, the first 3 days of mourning, it should be as painful to him as a sword is between his thighs and place where his male organ is. It hurts him the most there. It's the most sensitive area. Shiva, he should feel pain in himself like a sword is coming out of the corner of his house. From then on, it's like the pain of a sword passing through the marketplace, not as painful, but you're cognizant of the pain until 30 days. And after 30 days, this goes from Idah, like Gemara said. Have a good day. Be well. Bye.